Good morning, Olympia. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, is my hat in the way there? Wow. You know, have you ever, I'm slow to the uptake, but has anyone here ever been ambushed or shamed by a group? It happened yesterday, and I did not realize it until I got home, sort of thing. Like, it was like, oh my goodness. So on like the first day of school, I don't know, they went around and asked us something, and I don't know, I said the word Indian instead of Native American. I corrected myself right away, but just to give you context, and I didn't tell them that, I just said Indian and Native American, then went on. But years ago, I taught on the Navajo reservation. The parking lot was in Arizona, the school was in New Mexico, okay? It was off Route 666, which was off Route 66, just north of Gallup, and I heard they changed the name. I guess like too many, I don't know. It probably just got to be too much, being Route 666, but it was interesting. So, but they would make fun of you out there if you said the word Native American, all right? It's kind of like when Whoopi Goldberg asked Charlie Pride, there's kind of a clip going around, and she said, "How does it feel to be a African American country western singer?" And he said, "Same as it felt when I was a black one, or a Negro one, or a colored one." But yeah, I lived next door to actually the Navajo sheriff, and he used to really love to tease about the whole Native American thing. And he was like, "This is Indian land." So, it's funny, we get, used to a certain thing, and then like here, it's probably like I said the worst thing in the world, So anyway, yesterday, out of the blue, our teacher jumped up and said, "You know what? I feel like going to the library now. Let's just stretch our legs. Let's just go." Like, it was weird how she kept making excuses, because we don't know what's going on. Like, if you say it's time to go to the library, whatever. But she was just like, "We have to go now." Well, it was hilarious because it was pouring down cats and dogs. In fact, a couple of students bailed. The woman in the wheelchair just left and never came back to class. I think she was like, it wasn't like right now, it's just kind of like the usual little drippy rain or whatever, and it gets more hard, but that was like, it was like this weird monsoony kind of deluge thing that happened. So let's go around here just so you can see the dorms. So we go over to the library, and there's the librarian there, the one who, I don't know if I said this, I did in another video, who sent out mailings to all of us to tell us who to vote for. Is that just like wild or what? And like, is that dorm just completely shut down like an old crack house? Because it's got this fence in front of it. It's really weird and apocalyptic being here in the future with it. See, look at that. So, here they talk about the homeless endlessly here, and they've got an entire dorm they could put them in. So as I was saying, so then we go through this huge monsoon to get to the library to stretch our legs, supposedly. And there's the kind of pushy librarian who's trying to tell us who to vote for. But I didn't say anything about that. But suddenly, we were just suddenly whisked over to some kind of like little art area, art display area, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, whatever. And then we go. I bet these guys have lots of crazy stories. The employees always do, don't they? And suddenly there's this woman there, and she kind of looks like this lady I know from a long time ago here, who's just like very radical, nasty, kind of So I was like, oh God, that looks like that lady, but it's not. But it's weird how it looks like her. Well, suddenly that lady started talking, being really bossy, and everyone was like, oh, it's a retired faculty, and she just happens to be here today. And aren't we, well, they don't use the word blessed, do they? Aren't we lucky, that this happened? And, so suddenly we were entrapped or whatever by this ex-faculty who's looking really bitter and really angry and really nasty, and I'm like, oh boy. And suddenly she starts talking about the Native Americans, and she's like, and she doesn't look like she's ever been to a reservation, or she's just like this lady, whatever. I shouldn't say that, maybe she has, but she started talking about, how nobody cared, and nobody cared about the Native Americans, and that there were Native American names for things, and she had been finding them, and I thought that was cool. I love Native American names: Sammamish, Snohomish, Skookumchuck, Chinook. Yeah. And it was just like weird that she was just, being like really hostile, and she was just angry the way she was saying it. It wasn't like someone saying, oh, I'm a former faculty and I'm doing this. Like it was a shaming thing. And then I was like, God, like, wow, she's really angry or whatever. And then I realized she was only looking at me. And then I looked over at the librarian. The librarian's only looking at me. And the teacher's only looking at me. And it was like suddenly I was in this weird henhouse coven. The other students have no idea what's going on. They're just, listening to this lady. And it was just very interesting. I realized that I had been ambushed for a shaming session. And then there were just strange koanic things that were said during class. I wish I should record it. I should let them know that I am a coma survivor and that it's hard to remember things and that notes aren't enough or something. Oh, another thing is they block your Wi-Fi there, and I think that's freaky. It's like a cult. Like you don't have any internet access there. Someone told me that you can sign up for their internet access, but it's very, very slow. So they want control over your access to information. If I lived on campus, I'd be going cuckoo bananas. I also haven't told anyone, I don't think, about the cafeteria. I kind of wound up there the first day just thinking I'd grab like a chocolate milk or something, a banana, and they wouldn't let you go in unless you paid $15. They were like, it's $15 all you can eat. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I only want a chocolate milk. But I was like so thirsty. I paid the $15. I thought, oh, there'll be something to grab, right? There'll probably be something that looks good. And I go in, and all there was bread and bowls of rice. There was no protein. I asked about protein. I was like, hey, like, is there any like protein here? And then the guy shamed me and said, oh, you want protein comfort food. So protein's not even on the list there. It's considered a comfort food. And I did see like another student there that day, and so I went over and like sat with him, and he's really friendly. And I said to him yesterday, like, you probably won't see me at the cafeteria again. I don't know if it's me, but I didn't like the food. And the guy said, I worked in the prison system, and the food is worse here than in the prison system. And he said, in the prison system, there's at least protein. Like the desserts were even crappy. I thought, well, maybe they'll have a piece of pie or pudding or something. And the desserts were just these god-awful looking muffins that looked tasteless. Like that if you ate it, you would just blow up with cheap baking powder or something. There was a guy getting soup, and I thought, oh, he's clever. He's getting soup. I'll grab soup. And I got it, and it was like that really cheap, horrible kind of soup that's nothing but chemicals, like this gloppy, fake clam chowder that was just, horrible. And I realized at that point that the cafeteria was completely quiet, but it was full of more students than any I'd seen anywhere on campus. And I realized they're on a cult diet and they have no energy. They don't have the energy because they just had like a regular food service here before. It wasn't great, but you could at least get like a greasy burger, a piece of cake or something to give you some sort of energy. And so it was bustling, right? There were people like being bustly, and it's like, no, you've just got people on the prison diet. Another interesting thing was that at one point, just like this teacher's so weird, like she kind of holds her heart a lot and will say like, oh, I feel like I have to tell a heartfelt story right now, but I never get any actual stories. I love stories and I'm not getting any, there was some guy and this happened or whatever. She'll just start just talking about, she'll say like a thousand lies, a million lies are better than a painful truth. She said that yesterday and then stared at me, and I thought that was weird. Like, what is that? What is that about? Is that our fun friend? Hi there. It's great to see you. No shushes. So I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what truth is so terrible that a million lies would be better. And it wasn't in the context of anything. It was just sort of like blurted out. So I found that to be really interesting too. Another thing that's funny, and I think I did a video like years ago walking by and just looking at what was like located on the bulletin boards, and I noticed, abortion's like a big thing, so there were like all these kind of pro-abortion signs, but they're very obsessed with like prison reform. And I don't mean this as a slur against Rebecca's dad. He's like a separate thing. That's her dad. He did something in the 60s that was very cool and innovative, and someone had asked him to do it anyway. So if but it's just, there was just all kinds of stuff, and they were kind of in class, like too many people are incarcerated, like we've got all these people, and we need to, and prison reform basically is, like there was someone in class yesterday just saying like, abolish prisons and get people out of cages, and it's terrible. And, I'm sure that, Kamala Harris put a lot of people in jail that smoked marijuana or something that didn't want to be there. But there's never anything about people that are on the other end, are on the receiving end of these crimes. What about, Mr. Murder victim, or, Ms. Rape victim, grape victim, a victim of grapes or whatever. So a victim of murder. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say certain words, right? We're just like, because why? Because of censorship. Why? Because they hate the First Amendment. And yet they say, this is a democracy, and yet every amendment they're trying to take away. So what's that? But I don't mean to go off on that rant. It was just like, so, and then I heard her talking and having like an inside joke with the woman that does the $10 million prison thing with Boeing. And they were laughing that only white women did this, ran these non-profs and were part of it. And they were like, yeah, we're like demographically challenged. Or they had some little joke like that, that they weren't diverse, the ones that are wanting the prison reform. So I thought, what is it they want? Are we supposed to go and work on prison reform and get, raped by prisoners and then go get an abortion? Like, is that, because it was all just stuff about free the prisoners and get abortions, what's the story here? What are you trying to make us do? What are you trying to tell us? So there was never anything about what these prisoners may have done to people. Nothing about how they get let out all the time, only to reoffend. These, violent. We're talking about violent, um, the ones that they like to let out, the violent ones. So it's just, it's interesting, and I wonder what she was thinking, like what, because it had no context. This, a true, truth is worse than lies, right? And it's kind of like that famous line from Edward Said. I don't know if you've ever read him. He's got one of my favorite book covers though. He did a book like called Covering Islam, and it was like written before 9/11 and stuff, but the cover of the book had a picture of like a terrorist kneeling down, looking behind like a giant rifle, like with the gates of like the White House, like he's gonna like shoot the White House. And it's funny, like weird, bizarre covering Islam, as if that's all journalists thought about, that they were terrorist obsessed or something like that, covering Islam. And there's like, and there's like a quote from him where he says, it's not about facts, it's about emotions. And it's interesting because and the Granny Wu thing was so weird, like with those women in the hen house, the ones that are really a problem in China right now, even like for the Chinese, for the younger generation that just want to be like normal and live a life or whatever. The Granny Wus, the ones who tortured and murdered their own grandparents, right? Because if grandma listened to classical music, then they would put a big dunce cap on grandma and grandpa and parade them around the village, and then, electronically, torture them or burn them in public. They did the worst things imaginable to people in orchestras, to people who wore glasses. If you wore glasses, that meant that you enjoyed reading, and that meant you probably enjoyed literature, and that meant you should die. And see the movie The Red Violin. I'm sorry I don't do enough movie reviews, because that was my original thing, was film. And The Red Violin is an incredible movie. It's got tarot card reader, it's got, everything. It's a very beautiful film if you haven't seen it and you feel like watching something good. It's just really, really good, The Red Violin. But it does bring that up at one point. It shows you not even deeply enough, like what these people did. And they didn't get in trouble, right? Like the Nazis who like got in trouble and stuff. They won. And so these horrible people that did that, and now they are the grannies, and they go around now, and it looks cute on the outside. Like if you're a tourist, like they'll set up really loudspeaker things that they can carry around that are portable, and they'll just start dancing somewhere. So they'll be like, they're going to go in the shopping mall, and there'll be like 100 of them, like a ton, and they'll just start doing their aerobics or something. It can get more harassing, where sometimes they might do it in the middle of the night and at an apartment complex and just take over and start dancing. And they're realizing now it's considered a really bad public nuisance, that it's kind of a form of torment and torture at this point, because they will just take over a spot, be really loud, and no one can sleep at night, no one can get to anything. They'll block stuff, but make it look like, oh, we're just cute grannies, and it's like, no, these are the people who murdered their orchestra teacher, and made them wear a dunce cap and parade them in front of a crowd, and and this is what they look up to here. In fact, the teacher made a weird comment to someone and said, I judge people by what kind of phone they have. If they have an iPhone or a Mac, they're a better person. Which I have to be so quiet, right? That's the company where people jump out the windows committing suicide because the work conditions are so bad. They're worse than any of the other sweatshops for some reason. They are merciless. So it's interesting. I'm glad I'm here, because I'm getting to see just how weird they are. You know, I had turned in a paper, and some of these things might just be like, don't take it personally. Like, you know, I got this whole thing about, you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And so I brought down another paper. I'd brought one down, and this woman came out and just smiled in the cruelest manner and said, "Oh, you don't have the other paper, so you can't register." And I had brought the other paper in, but I had forgotten to make a copy. I had just handed it in. And I said, "Well, I brought it in already. I just, you know, I made them make a copy for this one." And then it turned out she had it. She had it right on her desk. And that could have just been made up, but it just seems like they're always trying to have a gotcha moment. You know what I mean? Like they're just always trying for this gotcha moment here. So tell me, what truth is worse than a million trillion lies? Let me know that, okay? I need to know. And then I'm going to take Mankin down. He had a rough weekend because I've been gone, and so he and my daughter, well, they kind of hung out, like hanging out, I think, being just cozy. I left them with like some snacks, and it's just kind of a different schedule. But let me know about some of this stuff. You know, that these kids, that protein is now considered a comfort food, and that guy, he was just horrified. He said the jail at least has, like, he said they have protein at the jail. They had no protein in that cafeteria. So that one is not just me, okay? Anyway, much love to everyone. You guys are the best in the West. You guys are the best in the West, or the East, or the North, or the South, or wherever you may be. I miss you all. And it's really great to hear from you when I can. I think about you guys, and I thank you all so much for making this channel what it is. Hope we don't get in too much trouble, huh? MK Ultra and all, signing off.